Go.
I'm Dr. Catherine Wilbert. I am the CEO and director of Big Sky Ranch and Catnip Foundation in Folsom, Louisiana. I've been involved in animal welfare for over 30 years, actively involved on boards and directly with rescue. I am a trained and certified first responder and have worked quite a few disasters, not only in Louisiana, but in some surrounding states as well. And this particular hurricane, Hurricane Laura, and the disasters we've been taxed with here in Louisiana over the past several months have been by far the most frustrating and mind-boggling disasters I've ever been involved with. It is, I guess, much like rescue and animal welfare is every day in Louisiana, very frustrating and political and sometimes backstabbing and really, really difficult to get people to work together. One of our biggest missions is to help educate people and help people change the way they think and feel about living with and caring for animals. That's actually our mission statement. And we have done really well working collaboratively with other respectable rescues and people who really want to make a change in this state. What made this hurricane frustrating is trying to reach out and help and trying to do the things that we've done in other disasters that have worked and just running into brick walls constantly. We actually, knowing what we've learned from other disasters, it's much easier to get animals out beforehand than waiting until floodwaters are here, which is what we fought in 2016. We learned in Hurricane Harvey and the work we did with Austin Pets Alive, they had taken a lot of shelter animals in prior to the storm, and we were able to help them move a lot of those animals out and either get them adopted or get them on transport to reputable organizations, get them adopted. So just prior to Laura's landfall, we reached out to several shelters that were in the cone of uncertainty, and we asked if there was anything we could help to do to transport animals out of harm's way. We have a large transport van that we use to transport animals, sometimes for spay-neuter for community people, but we use it to transport animals to other shelter partners and adoption partners that we work with in other parts of the country. And we have a disaster van, trailer actually, a 32-foot trailer that is completely self-sufficient to be used in disasters. It was a grant from American Humane right after the flood of 2016, because we worked so hard to get so many animals out of the flood zone and to get spayed and neutered and onto homes elsewhere. So we were awarded the grant for that disaster trailer, and it's been in a lot of disasters. It's been to multiple hurricanes, Harvey, Michael, Irma. So we tried to contact the different animal shelters, and basically we were told by a couple of them that they'd already gone for the evening and animals were still in the shelter, which was really mind-boggling to me. But we did reach out to the Calcasieu Parish shelter when the hurricane was predicted to directly hit there, and offered to come to get animals prior to the storm. They couldn't get permission to release the animals. I don't remember the exact numbers, but I believe there was somewhere around 60 dogs and 30 some odd cats left in the shelter prior to the hurricane hitting. And we said we could at least take all the cats out of there. By the time it was approved for us to come pick up the cats, we had not enough time. It was about 5 in the evening. There would not have been time to drive there and back. We would have been in the storm. So we talked to them about coming as soon as we possibly could. If it was a water situation, whatever, we were trained in that. We would come help. We would get the animals out and bring them back to our sanctuary, where we in general house about 300 animals, and work diligently to get them adopted, get them the medical care they need, and also bring them on transport to adoption partners. So the next day, we were told we were not able to get into the shelter because there were trees in the way, but they were cutting the trees, and we would be able to come that afternoon to get the cats. In checking back with them to try to plan our day, I asked some questions about what the animals would need. Are any vaccinated? Were any of the cats vaccinated? Did they have a roster of who was there? So I could plan on where to put the animals in our shelter when we got them. And at some point during one of the phone calls, the girl I was speaking with, who I believe was the shelter manager there, she said that I needed to talk to the vet. And the phone was given to Dr. Renee Poirier. And at that time, after planning for 2 days to come get the animals and having the van ready and the volunteers ready and everything staged to pick up cats, I was told that she did not need our services because the LASPCA was already picking up the cats to bring them to Texas. So I guess at the time I thought that was a good thing. It's great to see people work together, and it's nice that animals were getting out of there and going somewhere, hopefully where they could get the care they would need and adopted. So fast forward a day or two, we're getting calls. We had been working with a couple of rescues in the Lake Charles area, the DeQuincy area, trying to help those rescues and then help a gentleman who had a lot of cats, or a lot of feral cats in the DeQuincy area. We had maintained contact with this gentleman through the hurricane and knew he was in desperate need for help with these cats. So we made a trip, we brought food, we brought supplies, water, ice, everything they needed. Got everything we could locally garner in a couple of days to try to go to that area. We were handing out food and everything for these people. We did what we normally do in disasters, started calling, writing some disaster grants, and we began getting a flood of phone calls. People who needed help. They needed food, they needed supplies, they weren't getting food. I was being told even of situations where people were shooting animals that they did not have food or water for. So I reached out to the Greater Good, which is an organization that we work with quite a bit. We're actually their rescue bank affiliate for the state of Louisiana. So we work with them and have a very good relationship. I reached out to them and I asked, actually Denise Bash, who's in charge of their disaster response, if she could help in any way very quickly. And she told me that I should be able to make a request through the EOC. That's how it works, that the Greater Good had sent a lot of disaster relief to Louisiana, and it had been sent for these people, and it was here for use. It was food, it was vaccinations, medication. But I needed to reach out to the animal control in the parish that was affected and go through the EOC to garner those supplies we needed to help people. I again reached out to the Calcasieu shelter, was given Renee Poirier, and I was told that they did not need help and there was not people there who needed help. They had it completely under control. I explained that I was getting call after call for people who wanted to surrender animals, who could not help themselves. They didn't have food. They didn't have food for them. They didn't have food for their animals. They had no place to stay. They were trying to stay with relatives. I was told to tell them to contact animal control, that they had it. There was plenty of food. I was told so many times, there's plenty of food. Nobody needs food. I couldn't get any food. I asked a few times for vaccinations to help with the animals we were taking in that were owner surrendered, ones that people had brought to us, that I had explained that there were people who evacuated from Calcasieu Parish to St. Tammany Parish. They were staying with relatives, they were struggling, they needed help, and in some instances, people who had 10 animals, pets, they couldn't keep that many pets in the household with their families. Could we please help take these animals? Every time we take an intake, we have an intake protocol, and it's fairly rigorous, and they require vaccinations and spay neuter. So each animal is an expense on our nonprofit. I asked for the help that I was told was there. I reached out again to the Greater Good. I was told to ask Gina Troxler and St. Charles Parish, who had received some disaster response, and that I could get those supplies from her. Again, I was told I'm not the responding organization, that animal control has it under control, they do not need help, and that I am to tell people, no matter where they are, if they want to surrender their animal, they have to surrender it to animal control if they want to get help, because they would not help me help people. It is completely nonsensical to me, because why does animal control want animals? That doesn't even begin to make sense, because we pull animals from animal control organizations all over this state. We were taking cats from the DeQuincy area and helping rehome kittens from there long before the storm. We were doing spay-neuter for them, that we were helped by Alley Cat Allies to help them. So there are organizations and legitimate people trying to help the people who need help, but the organization that is receiving the donations, they're not helping the people. Doesn't even make sense. I called repeatedly on this and had multiple pointed conversations with, you promised me vaccinations, now you won't give them to me. You want me to tell people to surrender animals to animal control. The whole idea of animal control reform is diversion. And I understand that we don't want people to take owned pets off of property that might be someone's animal, and they either just went to lunch, or their dog's left in the yard, or they're going to come back and find their cat. All of our trips to Lake Charles, we dropped off food to people. If we saw loose animals, we recorded the address, we fed in place, we talked to neighbors, we did things to make sure that the animals had food and they weren't taken from their area. The only animals that we took in were direct surrenders. The unfortunate thing is we can't get help for that.